Hey guys, welcome to the homestead. Today we are going to harvest a couple roaster pigs and skin them out here. It's December 18th, and we got some people buying some for Christmas to roast bigger cuts on them. So we're going to harvest two of them that are around 60 pounds, I'm guessing. And we're going to skin them right here and let them cool off, then bring them inside and cut them in half, and then cut the halves in half, so we'll have 4 quarters. So we'll show you the skinning part and the cutting into pieces part and packing them. So we'll go into the barn now and we'll come back once we got them hanging. Okay, we got the pigs killed. That went smooth, and here they are. We're gonna hang them up with some baler twine. Baler twine comes in handy for lots of stuff. You cut right here, same place you'd hang a deer. You don't cut the tendon back here, otherwise you got nothing to hold it. So it's probably in the upper 20s right now, which is a good time of year to do some processing if you don't have infrastructure for all the coolers you would need. Nice working height. That's why when I use baler twine, I like to use the plastic stuff. Even though it's not biodegradable, it has a lot more uses. It's very strong. We hung a 300-pound pig with 4 pieces of baler twine. Processing animals, it's not a pretty job, but it gets cleaner as you go once you start turning them into cuts. So if you don't like the look of this, just tune in once you're in the kitchen. Pigs are a lot heavier than they look. Something that you'll think is like 40 pounds always ends up being like 70. Okay, so got them both hanging. Here they are. These are both males. We did castrate them earlier. Didn't know I was going to use them for roaster pigs, so I didn't have to castrate them. So we're going to skin them now. We'll take a picture after they're skinned. We're going to skin them and gut them. They're harder to skin than other animals, so like anything, a real sharp knife, and just take your time. The skin's thin, and it's just more slicing, a little more tugging. Deer, sheep, cattle are easier. Pigs are a lot tougher to skin, but when they're small, it's totally doable. So, or you could scald and scrape them, which would be dipping them in water that is approximately 150 to 170 degrees, give or take. And then you got to figure out the sweet spot on the timing for that, how much time in that. And then you'd scrape off the first membrane of skin. That's a preferred method for people who like to do curing or use the skin for pork rinds or other things. We don't do that, and I don't feel like setting up a boiling thing of water, dipping it in and scraping it. It's definitely more work unless you're set up good. Skinning it, you just need a knife. So that's what we're going to do today. I'll show you a little bit as I go here. You always want to skin them when they're warm. That is also key. But the hides on them are very thin. Nice sharp knife when it's warm. That's what you want. If any of the viewers have done deer, it's the same as deer, just tougher. Except you don't have to worry about the wound being shot. Deer are messier because you got a bullet hole going through the shoulders generally. These pigs also, like a lot of animals, they put on a winter coat. Their hair gets thicker. In the summer, this curly hair wouldn't even be here. So, that's interesting. Work your way around the tendon without cutting the tendon. But that's, winter's a little tougher because it's cold out for everything. But if you use the seasons for certain reasons, you can take advantage of winter and do some processing of animals. You got several months where you don't need freezers and refrigerators. Probably the most tedious part right here, getting it past getting your cuts past the rear end. Once it's past there, you're kind of tugging and cutting. This part's a little trickier because you're getting past some key areas like the anal cavity that we're trying to not release onto any of the meat. We're trying to keep it so it all comes out with the guts as we gut it. Another nice part about doing some pigs at home is you can do some sizes you want. At the butcher, this would cost you almost $100 for them to just kill it. No one brings in pigs this size, but if you got the will to do it, you can do it at home, and they're easy to hang. You can hang them by yourself without struggling.
Right. Well, they bring them into the butcher shop this size, but only intended as a roaster pig.
True.
And then they're scalded and scraped and
a lot of cost and loading for.
Yeah.
They're not going to cut them into cuts.
No, probably not.
Which we're not either. We're just going to break them into primals or quarters. Definitely less fat on them when they're younger too, so that would change as they get bigger, skin in them.
Alright, I'm going to tune back in when you've got them skinned. So there's the pigs.
We still have to gut them. And our thing to keep in mind if you do any of your own animals is you don't feed them. These haven't ate for a day, so there's no or very little food in their digestive tract, so it keeps everything cleaner. So definitely pull the feet off for 24 hours. And we're gonna gut them and then get them inside. Okay guys, from the kitchen here, we let them cool off outside for probably 2 hours. They're pretty cool now, not too bad. That just makes them easier to handle. They're not as sticky and stuff, so I can just go over the pig's body a bit here. Hindquarters here, get your loins here. This is the belly of the pig, which is the bacon. On a pig this small, you're not gonna turn any of this into the bacon. But on a big pig, a butcher would cut the belly off, and then you'd slice it on your slicer, or hand slice it that way, and it gets cured and stuff, which makes bacon. This cut here is usually for sausage or your ham steaks. Loins here will have either pork loin or connected to your pork chops. Ribs here. Your front quarters here, which would have your pork butts in them, which could be confusing because it's not the rear end. The pork butt is in the front shoulder, so it has nothing to do with the actual butt. This is a smaller pig that we're just gonna cut into pieces that we can cook up bigger hunks of it. So what I'm gonna do is split them into sizes that are similar thickness for cooking. You wouldn't want like a real thick cut connected to a real thin cut, because then they're cooking at different speeds. So I'll just take off the back here. So that's gonna be something someone can cook whole as a big roast. There you go. And these pigs are they're fairly young, so these are gonna be very good tasting cuts, very tender. So this here, I'm thinking to do the front half and then leave this half split. So I think I'm just gonna split it right down the center. This is where a large handsaw comes in handy, because you want to be able to reach the whole distance of the ribs, or the spine, which thankfully this does work. Another way to do this is with a bandsaw, but if you're not doing that many, you don't need a bandsaw. Try to just cut the bones with that side, not anything else. This is a nice trick too. Just take there you go. So now, can't ever have a big enough counter, it seems. Like that. Okay, so we're gonna, instead of cutting it, we're just gonna leave the whole rib in with the loin connected. So we're gonna take off the just the front shoulders, the whole front shoulder. Those will be separate cuts. Okay, so that's a piece.
Okay, so we're gonna split it
We'll split it this way.
this way.
To get a better mallet instead of all my cutting boards, but they work. I gotta get packing some of these to get room again. That and this one. Yeah, that seems nice. There you go. We could cook this. I think I'll cook that one. These though seem like they'd be good for wrapping stuff. If you kind of push it together and tie it, put a bunch of stuff on the inside.
Yummy.
All right, you want to pack these ones before we get onto that one?
Yep.
Grab the sealer so that it seals properly. Okay, here's all the cuts here. We got them all wrapped, vacuum sealed. As you can see, they clean up nice. This one was actually a smaller pig. He had a lot more fat on him though. Not what you would think. Ribs here. Ribs with the loin end. That's what's nice about doing some smaller pigs is you can have these kind of cuts you can't find at the store. You're not going to find loin and ribs, and maybe it's some custom areas, but for the most part, these aren't your run-of-the-mill cuts. And we left the leaf lard fat on there, which that's a prized fat for chefs know about it, and bakers that bake with leaf lard. It's a very soft, creamy fat, so that'll help with flavor when slow cooking something like that. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in.